So, welcome back to Taking Charge of My Cancer podcast. And I have a really exciting guest today, Michele Scarlet. So, Michele is a board certified functional medicine practitioner, functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, certified personal trainer, and the podcast host of Michele Scarlet's True Health podcast and a woman's health coach. She's also the founder of COREFIT and a holistic women's health program where she helps women uncover what's really going on their bodies so they can finally feel like themselves again. So,
That's
Michelle, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Excellent. So, tell us a little bit about how did you end up in this role of like functional medicine practitioner and women's health?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my whole life I was very athletic. I grew up in a very healthy household. Health food was always on our table. So I grew up knowing the difference. So I found that I had a passion very early for health. Um, and so early in my 20s, when I finished university, I ended up opening a personal training studio, which is where my personal training certification comes in, and really dove into fitness and clean eating being sort of the be all end all of health. And then that was a big shocker when about, 10 years into that world, my health started to decline rapidly.
Okay.
And when I say decline rapidly, I don't mean I never ended up being diagnosed with any kind of disease,
Mhm.
but I certainly believe that I was on the way to that diagnosis, whether it be something like Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism, another autoimmune disease. But the symptoms that started showing up at about that 10-year mark of, high stress. I was running my own business up at 4 a.m., exercising intensely, eating minimally, and still calling it healthy. The symptoms that were showing up for me were things like bloating, insomnia, anxiety. My hair was falling out or it wouldn't grow. And so when I say my health was rapidly declining, I just started noticing the things that your body puts energy into. So hair growth, for instance. When
Mhm.
your hair is growing, your body is thriving.
Okay.
If your body has the energy to put into something as useless, as your hair,
That's a very
then
good
it's got
point.
the energy, then it's got the energy to put into your more vital systems. And
Uh-huh.
so I've obviously learned that in hindsight, but as my health started to decline, in my early 30s, I'd go to my doctor. My doctor would say everything was fine. I started to gain weight rapidly, even though I was eating very little. I was still working out. Nothing in my routine had changed. So why was my health declining so fast? And yeah, nobody could help me. My doctors, no naturopaths, nothing. Everybody just said I was normal. It was aging. It was, that's it. That was the only thing that people could say to me. And I just refused to believe that because I just didn't feel good. And I know that a lot of women resign to this idea that once they hit 30 or 40 or 50 or whatever age they have in their head,
Let's go downhill.
that it's just downhill, right? We're kind of told to believe that. And I just refused. And so I just dug and dug and dug and dug and found people and asked people. And I ended up making my way when COVID hit here in Toronto. My gym was shut down.
Okay.
And I ended up making my way sort of back to school. And now I understand that health is not just diet and exercise, that it comes with a whole bunch of other things that go far deeper than diet and exercise. And if you don't want the bloating, the weight gain, the insomnia, the mood swings, the anxiety, you have to dig a little deeper.
Got you. So you want to tell us a little bit about this functional medicine practitioner versus functional medicine, no, functional medicines, as we were talking a bit about earlier, right? So what is the difference between, being a physician going into functional medicine versus being a nutritionist going into functional medicine, being a practitioner? So what's the difference? And maybe the audience can even know what is functional medicine means, right?
Yes. So a functional medicine physician is a doctor, a medical doctor who has gone through full medical school, they are prescribing and they have, I mean, I don't know this 100%, but what I imagine is that they have then specialized in functional medicine rather than conventional medicine, what we would see in our traditional medical system. For me, functional medicine practitioner is somebody who has gone through some pretty intense and comprehensive schooling, writing exams, all of the things, but did not go to medical school. So I do want to make the distinction that I am not a physician. I am not prescribing or diagnosing.
Mhm.
What I am doing, and this is sort of for me, the definition of functional medicine is I am asking, instead of saying, hey, you have Hashimoto's, I say, why do you have Hashimoto's? I ask, why is the body creating an immune response when
Mhm.
it comes to your thyroid or, insert any condition that you have? Why is the body doing that? And I look at the body as one whole system that influences each other. So your hormones influence your gut, and your gut influences your detoxification and your immune system and your brain and your energy system. I don't ever say, your thyroid is the problem. Let's just work on that.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's very good. So what do you think many women feel like their symptoms are demonized or normalized? Like just like listen to you and what I listen to a lot of patients I work with on a daily basis. Why do you think that's going on?
Yeah, I think that this is a part of our system, our medical system. I think that doctors, GPs, are not trained to look at chronic symptoms. They're trained to find disease.
Mhm.
Okay. So you go to your doctor and you say, I am so exhausted. I have anxiety. And your doctor goes, okay, well, let's run some blood work because that's what they're trained to do. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. It's
Yeah.
just different.
Yeah.
Your blood work comes back normal
Mhm.
because blood work lab ranges in the conventional system, the spectrum is huge. So you could fall anywhere between, let's just say, 1 and 100, right? You could fall at 99, and a doctor's going to go, well, you're on the spectrum of normal. It's fine,
Mhm.
right? And you don't feel normal, but you don't know where else to turn. So, one, I think that our doctors aren't trained for chronic conditions, like I was just saying. They are trained to look for disease. And if you fall inside the spectrum of normal, they're not looking until there is a disease to diagnose.
Mhm.
And then, secondly, I think that our society, like I said, we kind of have this idea that once you hit a certain age, life is downhill.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's really unfortunate that the stories we are told is that when you hit a certain age, like I don't want to say useless, but you're not worthy anymore. I don't know what that is exactly. And I think that it comes from a lot of things like women in their 20s, men, and I'm going to put this on men, I'm sorry,
Huh?
men dating women in their 20s when men are older, right? They want somebody younger.
You got it. Yeah.
And we see it perpetually over and over and over and over again. They don't want somebody who's smart and opinionated and all the things, right? They want somebody who will just be like, oh, all doughy-eyed and excited about being with an older man. Um, so I think that it kind of all correlates that we all just go, oh, I'm getting older. I should feel worse than I felt in my 20s. And I just don't believe that.
Yes, yes. And I'm so glad that actually now is more things like your podcast. That's one of the reasons why actually motivate me to start a podcast myself, but just really more and more and more out there, and then more people really listening and looking
Yes.
at so many things that they're just not okay with that. So it's so great that I start seeing woman being there, like I tell my patient, you need to be your own CEO. So yes, you go and then yes, the doctor is a physician, I understand, but what about this? And then just bring everything to the table. And it's like, and if you don't know, then let's just refer me to somebody who knows. Right.
Yes,
But
exactly.
really look into that.
Yeah, I feel like with my podcast, same. I wanted a platform that could reach worldwide that taught women that they could advocate for themselves and
Mhm.
like be annoying. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Be loud. Like I say annoying because a lot of women feel like they're annoying somebody, a doctor or whatever. And if your doctor makes you feel like that, find someone else.
Yes.
Like, period. End of story, right? Your doctor is there for you. And I just don't know how, I just don't see it any other way. And so advocating for yourself, like you said, be your own CEO. Like
Yeah.
your doctor is not here to tell you
Yeah.
you're fine when you do not feel fine.
Yeah, absolutely. So how was your story about the podcast? Why did you kind of came across that? What inspired the idea to start a podcast?
I actually I am just really passionate about my podcast right now. I think that exactly this conversation that women don't know what's common versus what's normal. Every woman that I have worked with, this is thousands of women over 17 years, every single one, I want to say dismisses themselves. Oh, but I'm 40, so it makes sense. What? No.
Yeah.
Those don't even go together. You know what I mean? Or like, oh, well, I'm in perimenopause. And
Uh-huh.
perimenopause doesn't equal
Mhm.
feeling like garbage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? And if somebody really values their health, you can sail through I am going to prove this to the world that you can sail through perimenopause
Yeah.
without, a complete breakdown of your mind and your life.
Mhm.
And so that's what's inspired me for my podcast is just like really getting the message out there and, what women don't know, but they need to know.
So if we go into woman and you just really just talk about perimenopause, so how do you think hormones influence nearly every system in woman's body?
Yeah, so hormones are incredible.
Mhm.
They are incredibly protective of a woman's body, not just physical body, obviously her all of her systems, but they literally touch every system in the body. Okay, so if we think about this like your insulin, we are talking blood sugar, we are talking about energy, we are talking about cortisol. Then you talk about cortisol. We are talking about energy. We are talking about thyroid. We are talking about liver congestion. We are talking about gut. Um, the way that your body metabolizes estrogen throughout your life.
Mhm.
There are, I want to say something, I think there are about 400 different functions and feedback loops of your hormones as a woman in your, I'm going to say, reproductive years
Mhm.
that are beneficial and protective. There is a no wonder as a woman hits post-menopause, so after perimenopause and she's had her last period for a year, right? She hasn't had her period for a year. There is no coincidence that cancer rates increase at that age. There is no coincidence that heart disease increases at that age. There's no coincidence that diabetes starts to rise at that age. And your hormones are incredibly protective of you when they are optimized.
Mhm.
And I am a firm believer in bioidentical hormone replacement therapy
Mhm.
if it is suitable for that woman
Mhm.
to keep her hormones in an optimal state post menopause, even though lots of women say like, "Oh, I want to be natural," just because post menopause
Yeah.
is technically a natural state. Yes, we will all go through ovarian decline.
Mhm.
I do not believe that is an optimal state.
Mhm.
And so, yes, your hormones touch every part of your body. And it's why perimenopause is such a crucial part of life that many women do not understand and many doctors do not understand.
Yes.
They just think we need to manage symptoms rather than actually get to the root of why the symptoms exist.
Yeah, that's very well say. And what is your opinion on, so we wanted to try to get things at around perimenopause time, right? Because it's when a lot of things start happening and not just wait until menopause. And again, I'm a big firm believer as well of hormone replacement. But hearing other practitioners out there and functional medicine and OBGYNs really big on the menopause world, is like, what is your opinion to start hormone replacement early on instead of waiting into just wait until I get a hot flash before I start doing something about it?
Well, it's interesting. Again, I think just education. One, hot flashes are not necessarily the first
Yeah.
symptom of perimenopause, right? Oftentimes we start to see, like in late 30s, cycles getting a little bit longer or getting a little bit shorter, getting a little bit more painful or more heavy. You're still having a period, so you probably aren't, going, oh, something's wrong here or something's changing. Sleep is another
Hmm.
symptom of low progesterone. And so entering perimenopause, it can take like 10 years to be in perimenopause. And the first hormone to decline is not estrogen, it's progesterone.
Hmm.
And so when your progesterone starts to decline, you start to struggle with sleep. So I would say that that's probably the number one symptom
Okay.
of early perimenopause.
Mhm.
And I highly agree with starting a progesterone
Right.
supplement on a low level for like, that's suitable for the person. Again, it's all bio individual. But why wait? You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like why are we suffering for a number of years not sleeping
Yeah.
before we do something? Why are we living in a reactive world
Mhm.
rather than a proactive world? I think it stems down to education. And again, something like a podcast, whoever's listening to this is going to go, oh, yeah, okay, this makes sense. I know lots of women in their late 30s who start just a topical progesterone
Mhm.
and it just helps their cycle regulate. Why wouldn't we want that?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think you're very right as well in the beginning when we were talking about a lot of women wants to do it naturally, right? Like what is no what's wrong with bioidentical, right? Is no you just like you optimizing your body towards something is coming down because natural, this is what the body is gonna do. So why not try to be proactive, like you say, right? It's like exercise, right? Why start exercising until you either gain in the way and you feel that you're getting weaker and you cannot lift something that you used to lift before you can start exercising, right? Instead of like, no, I'm gonna exercise from the beginning because it has such a great benefits from the long
Yes.
run and longevity. So anyway, so
Yes, exactly, exactly. I am just a firm believer. And I think that that also comes into like coming full circle about what is functional medicine. Functional medicine obviously helps the body heal,
mm,
but it is such a proactive way to practice, medicine or to practice healthy living, rather than going, oh, now I need to backtrack to get to where I want to be
yeah,
instead of just say, hey, I'm going to put in a little bit of work now instead of having to put in a lot of work later.
yep, yep. What are the most common root causes that you see behind women's health complaints? Besides,
So I have a philosophy here.
mhm,
And I was on a podcast last week. Um, and when I said this, she kind of went, oh. So root causes to me, there can be multiple root causes, is what I'm taught. But if you break it down, to me, toxic overload is always the root cause.
mhm,
Okay, so lots of people will say mold is a root cause. I'll say, why can't your body detox mold?
mhm,
Right? It's a toxin. A lot of people will say chronic stress is is a root cause. Well, why can't your body adapt to chronic stress?
mhm,
Right? Chronic stress to me is a toxin, right? Uh, People will say parasites are a root cause. That is a toxin in your body. I do not believe that hormone imbalance is a root cause. I believe that hormone imbalance stems from toxic overload
okay, good
and
point.
it kind of comes downstream. I think that nervous system dysregulation is a toxic overload in our body. Okay, so I believe that everything comes from toxic overload. And how do you stabilize a nervous system? I mean, many people can do it in different ways, but you essentially are detoxing the garbage in your life that creates a dysregulated nervous system. Okay. So if it's watching the news, if it's following somebody toxic on social media or doom scrolling just in general, right? And it's getting your body into a stressed state. Maybe it's a toxic friend or friendship that you need to detox because every interaction you have has you full of anxiety, full of stress, and a dysregulated nervous system. So for me, root cause is toxins or toxic overload. And often, if we're going to talk about perimenopause, perimenopause is never the issue. Perimenopause is the body's natural time where there's ovarian decline. That is science, that is happening. But it starts to uncover the accumulation of toxic load over your entire life. And that is why we see the symptoms that we see, not just because there's ovarian decline.
So how can we improve our body to be able to get rid of those toxins?
I mean, there's many things that we can do. So if you are already, if you're backtracking, like maybe you didn't know and you're now 45 years old and you're, not sleeping and you're having hot flashes and all of the things, maybe you've got leaky gut. We definitely need to be testing. We need to see what's going on in the body. We need to see what is happening. Do you have parasites? Are there heavy metals at play? Are you eating organically? Are you focusing on nervous system regulation? We have to look at the data and we have to look at it in comparison to your symptoms and your lifestyle. So that's number one. You have to formulate a plan ultimately. There are many ways to detox from everything, but you need to support your liver. You need to support your drainage pathways, your kidneys. You need to support your skin and sweating. You need to move your body. You need to support your immune system. Your immune system needs to be robust enough to be able to have the energy to support a detox, right? It is all about energy, mitochondria health,
Yep.
all of these things. And you can do that through lifestyle. I call them like lifestyle anchors. They're, to me, the things you do every single day, day in and day out, that support the big systems in your body to be more robust. You can also supplement, which I think that for a lot of women, if we've already accumulated and now we're backtracking, oftentimes need that supplement support for a short period of time. I am proof that I've had to go through detox processes, through supplementation, through other modalities, and then just maintain a continuous detox, like daily regime. Nothing big, but something that's just like always supporting that system to help us through this toxic world that we live in.
Okay. And you mentioned leaky gut, which I think that was gonna lead into my next question. So why is gut health such a foundational to women's overall health, and how can we support it? And mainly, how can we support it during any cancer treatments?
Mm. Okay, so I'll address the cancer treatment questions separately.
Okay.
Our gut health as women is so incredibly important because, like I said, I look at the body as one whole system. So if your gut is inflamed, whether that's from pesticides or toxins or food sensitivities, alcohol, I mean, you name it, right? If your gut is inflamed, then the rest of your body is inflamed. Like, fact, we cannot silo one part of our body. So that's number one. If your gut is inflamed, you are no longer absorbing the nutrients from your food as well as you should be. So your cells, on a very foundational level, are no longer getting what they need to function and put energy into the rest of your body.
Mhm.
So your digestive system is so important because that's literally how you fuel the rest of your body. And so if there are issues there, i.e. leaky gut or parasitic infection or bacterial infection, you have to address that and
Mhm.
heal the gut fully.
Mhm.
Like, I'm not just talking like if you get rid of the parasite, cool. But then you need to seal the gut again. Those parasites have lived in there, they've done a lot of damage. You need to repair. Because if you do not, I think about terrain theory. I don't know if you are familiar with terrain theory.
No.
So it's like your entire digestive system's ecosystem all the good bacteria with the bad bacteria. Everything needs to play nicely, and it needs to be sealed so that your immune system is not reacting at every little thing that you eat, causing more inflammation. So if you've done the parasite cleanse and then you didn't do anything else beyond that, your tight junctions, which are, inside your gut, and I know I'm getting into the science of it, are still loose and your immune system's still reacting. You're going to create a terrain that is optimal for more overgrowth.
Okay.
And so this is why you see women like with this cyclical idea that they have to constantly be working on their gut health. And I'm a big proponent of being aware of your body and what's going on, of course, right? But you need to actually repair the gut if you actually want to see the results downstream, the hormone balance, the better detoxification abilities. Now, to answer your question about cancer during cancer treatment. So I really want to stay in my lane here because I am not,
Mhm.
a cancer expert.
I got you.
When it comes to the gut, I believe that resilience over restriction is what you need to do when undergoing things like chemotherapy or radiation, when your body is literally so depleted. We need to just build your body back up. And that is what the robust immunity is. And that is why it is so imperative that you are actually absorbing the nutrients that you are eating, especially during a time where your body is literally breaking down from the chemicals being put in to help save your life.
Okay. What kind of like food helps with that from like the nutritional standpoint?
Like robustness, immunity, like that.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I'm a big fan of a whole food diet. I never want to restrict women. I think that when you start restricting, you start playing a mental game with women. And I don't want that. But I will say, when I talk about restriction versus whole food diet, ultra processed food is not food.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So, and I have to make that distinction because when I say there's no restrictions, if people think they're going to be eating Pop-Tarts, maybe that's not their thing, or like cupcakes or like,
Yeah.
whatever. That's not food.
Mhm.
Okay. So the food that is going to heal your body is going to be the lean
Oh, sorry. I lost your volume for a minute.
meats. I
Oh,
mean, I don't even want to say the lean meats, meat in general.
we good. We good now.
Oh, are we back?
Yeah, we're back. We're back.
So the food that's
Oh, we lost you again.
going to heal your body now, it is, let me know if you can hear me.
Now we can hear you. Yeah, for a second,
Okay.
it's kind of you go away and then come back.
Okay. Yeah, let me know if
Oh,
it kicks out again, but
okay.
my internet connection is fine. Is it yours?
Am I wondering if that's, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Okay.
So the foods that are going to heal your body, it is bio-individual, right? Like we're going to have food sensitivities. I feel like maybe, are you frozen? No, you're
No,
good. You can hear me?
I'm good. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so it's going to be bio-individual, and some people thrive eating different types of meat, whatever. But what you want is the most nutrient-dense foods. So you want the meat, you want the veggies, the antioxidants, the fruits, the minerals, everything that comes from something that is like minimally processed from the farm to your table. These are the things that are going to give you the most robust immune system. And then if you've healed your gut, your body is going to be able to uptake those nutrients into the cells and really push the energy into the healing of your body, not surviving in your body.
That's very good. That's a very well to put it. But what are your thoughts on if you have somebody who is going through cancer and they're really having a hard time eating, right? Because they're not feeling well, just because, the amount of toxicity that unfortunately chemotherapy bring into the system, even though we know it's for the right reason, try to kill these cancer cells. So if they have a plate and they feel like, okay, you just need to eat at least something, what will be the main thing that you feel that they should be go for? Like, if I kind of have a plate full of like protein, vegetables, and fruits, and I have to pick one, what do you think is going to be more for your bucket?
Oh, that's tough. Eh, because I understand that, something like a grass-fed organic steak, for instance, might be really hard to get into the body. But that's probably where I would go. Just tons of minerals, tons of vitamins, tons of nutrients, tons of fat and protein, keeping your body strong. That's probably where I would say first. Um, but I mean, at the end of the day, if you are just
Yeah.
nauseous and cannot do it, I would be, again, you always have to check with your doctors. You can't just like throw a bunch of supplements at somebody who is going through this. Um, it would be, I would be making bone broth.
Mhm.
I would be having smoothies with a lot of antioxidant
Mhm.
veggies
Mhm.
and fruit. Not necessarily all the greens, but like beets, beetroot, pomegranate, dark cherries. Antioxidants are like, one of the number one things that you can eat to get rid of those free radical cells that can potentially turn cancerous.
Yeah.
So antioxidants, big time. I'd be pushing that big time.
Great, great. I like that. Yeah, that's usually what we tend to advise patients. Really, has been a lot of great information out there about, protein and inflammation, and as
Hmm.
to any kind of surgeries for cancer, or even with no cancer, your body is going to tend to inflame. So that's kind of a really good way to kind of support it during those times. So,
Yes, yes.
um, how does chronic stress uniquely affect women's bodies and the relation with cancer?
Whew. So chronic stress. This is maybe a little bit complex, but I think about chronic stress in a number of different ways. I think about chronic stress as an external source, so maybe bad relationships, maybe stressful work situations, financial stress. Those are stressors most people think about. There's emotional stress, a death of a loved one, you know,
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know what else to say about that. Emotional stress is emotional stress, the loss of something,
Mhm.
right? And then there's the internal stressors. So what we already talked about, the hormone imbalance, the gut health, a poor immunity, poor detoxification. Those are inside or hidden stressors is how I would describe that. And so all of them together is how I look at chronic stress.
Okay.
Okay. I think our society, again, to sort of normalize, I think that our society normalizes chronic stress and women don't even recognize that they're chronically stressed. Right? They think that financial stress, work stress, emotional stress is all normal. And then on top of it, they think that their bloating, anxiety, depression is all normal too. All of that is chronic stress.
Mhm.
So, chronic stress, often what happens is it's hitting your energy system in terms of like your fight or flight, your nervous system, your sympathetic nervous system. So you have this wild spike in cortisol, and that's okay. We can have a cortisol spike. Our body is meant to have that. And but it's what's different about our society is that it stays up there. If we're chronically stressed, our cortisol is always peaked. And we can live like that for a number of years. I did, probably a decade. And then eventually it crashes because we are not robust enough to maintain that forever.
Mhm.
The normal pattern is there's a threat or there's a stressful time and it increases and then you are safe again and then it decreases and that is how we stay in homeostasis and that's a beautiful thing and
Mhm.
that's where we should be. But society today doesn't allow us to be there. So, if we are staying in this state of chronic stress and our cortisol system, our our limbic system becomes dysfunctional,
Mhm.
then, as we said before, how does hormones affect the body? If our limbic system is dysfunctional, now our sex hormones are dysfunctional. Now our body is not optimized for fertility, and that's fine. Maybe you're not trying to have kids, but it doesn't mean that your body shouldn't be optimal to be able to reproduce, right? From a physiological standpoint. Then downstream from that, your gut starts to become leaky, right? Those tight junctions that I was talking about that are in your gut are now separating from stress. Your mucosal barrier, which is literally the barrier of things that you ingest that from your immune system,
Mhm.
is thinning. Now your immune system starts to activate. When your immune system has been activated for far too long, hear me, a decade, your immune system is not robust enough to live like that forever.
Yeah. Mhm.
It starts to decline. You do not have the vital reserves anymore to fight. And this is where disease sets in, when
Mhm.
your body just cannot fight any longer.
Yeah. So I think this is a great explanation. I come across a lot of patients who, and again, I'm a physical therapist and I treat cancer. I'm an oncology specialist, but what I hear a lot is like, women that are young, like you, very athletic and healthy, and they're like, why? And then get diagnosed with breast cancer. And it's like, where all this came from, right? I take care of what I eat. I try to take care of like the toxins around me, like I don't drink in water bottles, like all those things that they do, like why all this happened. And I think has a lot to do with that. I think it's the stress of their life, and when we start talking about those things, it's like, yeah, you start a new business or, your kind of work that you do is just you're on top of all the time, right? And then
Yes.
I think that's exactly what's happening, right? The body just get to the point that becomes so vulnerable that then is when this little cancer cell just decide to just settle there. And so it's
Yes.
like a warning, like you better change your way of living because this is exactly what's happening. So,
Yes. I believe that your cancer does not begin at your diagnosis.
yeah,
It
absolutely.
begins 10 years before that, 15 years before that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that young people in general, not just women, even though maybe the listeners of this podcast are women, young people in general are seeing more and more cancer diagnosis because our world is more and more toxic at a younger age
Yeah.
these days. So you are, maybe even in utero, being subjected to pesticides, pollution, the toxins in our world, and you are like far more than when I was a kid.
Yep.
You know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
Yep.
And so your chronic stress load is even higher at a younger age.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's one of the reasons, it has been a lot of controversy about, positive hormone breast cancer. And like, why is getting younger woman when, well, usually most of the time happening a lot of like perimenopause, more menopause type of ages. Um, Specific for breast cancer, but we're seeing them more and more in younger women. And then sometimes has been some controversies into like, well, really is estrogen what is producing the cancer? Uh, but if it is, why no younger woman were getting it before, right? Because it's the peak of your estrogen versus when things start declining at age, 50 and more. And I think that's just what it is, right? It's more younger woman is getting it, not because the estrogen levels, but is because what you just mentioned it is the exposure to all the toxins, including from chronic stress to everything else like you say, in society, sadly, we're living right now. So
Yes, yes. And if you were to look at a Dutch test, I don't know if you run Dutch tests on your patients. No,
no.
okay. So there is on a Dutch, it shows your estrogen pathways. And so there are three estrogen pathways and the way that your body detoxes those estrogen pathways. And the 2OH pathway is the most favorable. And so regardless of whether you are post-menopause and you're producing the least amount of estrogen that you ever have, or you are in your reproductive years and you're producing the most amount of estrogen that you ever have, you want the majority of your estrogen to be detoxed, if you will, eliminated through your 2OH pathway. It is the least inflammatory, it is the least damaging. When your body is running optimally, So that means your gut is good, your immune system is good, your detoxification system's good, everything is optimal. We would see that. You have your 4-OH pathway and your 16-OH pathway. These are more inflammatory, they are more DNA damaging.
Okay.
This is where, when things are not good upstream, when your body is not doing well, again, your gut, your immune system, your detoxification, etc., we start to see estrogen come down those two pathways. When those two pathways are the majority of your estrogen, that is when we start to see, whether it be postmenopause or younger, it's not discriminative. That is when we start to see estrogenic cancers take hold.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah, so there are like real markers that people can run these labs, and your doctors are not running these labs,
No, no,
right?
I
No,
have,
they're
yeah, no. I don't think my primary care knows what a Dutch test is at all.
it's not diagnostic. That's the problem, right? It's
Yeah.
it's it's not diagnostic. It's not blood. It's metabolites in your urine. But it gives enough information that I run a Dutch every year, and not because I'm perimenopause, or it doesn't matter. Like you said, this is like a myth. It doesn't, if estrogen caused cancer, why are women in their 20s, when they have peak estrogen, not getting this cancer, and we're seeing it more in 50s or whatever? If that was the cause, this test is like enough information to go to your doctor and say, hey, my estrogen is not detoxifying enough. We need to check. We need to check for this. Or you go to a functional medicine practitioner or somebody who can go, oh, okay, we need to start eating properly. We need to start healing other systems in your body so that your estrogen starts flowing down the right pathway. And
That was,
it doesn't matter if you're over 50 and you only have a little bit of estrogen, or you're in your 30s and you have a lot.
yeah. So that's that you kind of answer my next question because sometimes it's like, yes, you hear this Dutch test and I can just go to somebody and then run a Dutch test, but then what do I do with these results, right? Because then it is hard if you're not following with somebody like you or any functional medicine. How do I change that to be able to improve this, right? So,
Yeah, yeah. I do really think it's irresponsible of practitioners like myself who will run labs for people and then not follow through. Like, there's lots of people who run their businesses this way. And it's really unfortunate because it's just about money for them. Or, they will then charge ample extra for any kind of coaching. It would feel very irresponsible of me to look at a Dutch test, interpret it, and then be like, here you go. Figure it out.
yeah.
If I see I mean, I always see something. I'm not saying I always see, the more inflammatory pathways or anything, but like there's always something. If a woman's coming to me and she's not feeling her best, we're finding something,
Hmm. That's great.
right? Yeah.
So you only do it on women? Can you do a Dutch test in guys as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. There are, like, breast cancer happens in men too.
Yeah. We do have. Yeah, I have. I think I have seen. I've been doing oncology for the last 17 years, and so far, I think I have seen 6 men with breast cancer, and one
Yeah.
of them actually passed. I was very aggressive.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm.
yeah. So it's there as well. How important are protein, blood sugar balance, and meal timing for women? And what is the difference in a breast cancer diagnosis? If you know that, if you don't, it's okay. We can just talk about like, how important is to keep that balance.
Yeah, I think that regardless of whether you have a cancer diagnosis or not, I think that it, it, mm, it's bio-individual is what I will say. So protein for me, very, very important.
Okay.
It is bioavailable, meaning I'm talking animal protein. It's bioavailable. Your body knows what to do with it. It can, as long as things are healed in your body, it can break it down, pull what it needs, obviously, and then get rid of what it doesn't, which is incredible. And it knows exactly where it needs to go. Blood sugar is important because blood sugar, if we are supposed to have a spike in blood sugar, that is normal when we eat, okay? But we are meant to have an insulin spike then that brings our blood sugar back down. So if you are insulin sensitive, that is a good thing. If you are insulin resistant, then it's something that you need to work on, and it might be a little bit more important for you to be thinking about blood sugar, exercise, not just timing of meals, but pairing of meals. So making sure that you're having high fiber, making sure that you're having a higher protein. If you know that there is a food that's going to spike your blood sugar, like higher than ideal before your insulin actually jumps in. And at night, like sleeping, sometimes what we see in women who have dysregulated blood sugar is that they end up with insomnia, or there is something that happens overnight that spikes their cortisol because their blood sugar has dropped too low. And so often if we start to see that, if I start to see that with a client, then we'll have them eat something like an apple with some peanut butter before bed. Something that stabilizes their blood sugar a little bit so that they're not getting that dip in the night, so that they're not having that cortisol response, because that's what the body does. And then they're not waking up in the middle of the night. So if we talk about just optimal health, we know that sleeping good is important for optimal health for a number of reasons, and balanced diet and homeostasis. So homeostasis means that you would be insulin sensitive, right? The blood sugar rises, the insulin kicks in, brings it back down, or the glucose rises,
Mhm.
and the insulin kicks in and brings it back down. That is homeostasis, and that's why blood sugar is important, because it means optimal health. If you are not in optimal health while going through a cancer diagnosis, it's going to be even more imperative.
Yep. Mhm. So pretty much, if we continue being our whole life in optimal health, anything that come across us, we want to be able to make a much better out of it, right? So
Yes, I fully agree. And now this is where it can get, somebody's going to listen to this and be like, well, how the hell do I be in optimal health my whole life? And it's not something that we necessarily stay in.
yeah, yeah.
What it's about is tuning into your body at any given time and recognizing that life is up and down and up and down and up and down. And when you go through a very stressful time in life, we all do. It's about having the know-how to go, how do I protect myself in this situation? Do I need to eat better right now because I'm not sleeping great?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Do I maybe need to do a functional lab and see if there's something really deep going on in my gut? Perimenopause is a stressful time in life. There are some physiological changes happening. Maybe I don't have wine every night, which is a stressor, right? You have to be in tune enough with your body to go, I don't think this is the stress I need to create for my body today.
Mhm.
And I think that that's enough for most people.
And I like what you just say, because I think that most of the people thinking, oh, I need a glass of wine tonight because I have a really stressful day. And I'm just only adding more stress into my body with that glass of wine, right? So
100%.
yeah, and many times, I'm sure you has been in that position many times. I do the same. It's like, oh my God, I need a drink, right?
Of course.
And after a busy day, but yeah, it's just realizing that a lot of things that you do to your body, including that, putting more stress that you don't need to have in there. So
Yeah. And I mean, here's the thing is that, like, I mean, we can get really logical about alcohol. Alcohol is poison, period.
yeah,
Right? Like, our body needs to process it and wants it out. And that is just what it is. Now, we also understand that there is a cultural norm around alcohol. And that's not to say that if you enjoy a drink with your husband or at Christmas time or whatever, that you're all of a sudden going to be not in optimal health. That's not true. What
yeah,
we are trying to do is build a body that can sustain the balance.
yep,
But the balance is what's key, not the every night thing.
you got it. You got it. Perfect. So to wrap up, if you could change one thing about how a woman approach their health, what that will be?
Oh gosh, that's a loaded question. Well, you know what? You know what? This is going to sound so woohoo. I
No.
could give you a lot, I could give you a real logical answer.
Uh-huh.
And to me, it would be like start detoxing your body. Start detoxing your body every day, not some celery juice cleanse. That's not what I mean. I mean, drink the bitter or eat the bitter foods, get the bile flow up, make sure you're having bowel movements every single day, move your body, get in the sunshine. Those are the things that are going to make a robust body. I would say that. But if I'm going to talk from like a nervous system standpoint, because me telling you a list of things that you need to do daily, women go, oh, okay, so now I got to get my kids up and get them to school and make breakfast and do this thing and do this thing. And it becomes a stressor. Yeah.
Yeah.
So don't do that. Give yourself some grace. You do not need to be perfect to be healthy. You do not need to have a 16-step bedtime routine to be healthy. You need to have balance and you need to trust what your body is telling you. And if rest is what you need, and I don't just mean sitting on the couch zoning out on Instagram, I mean like really just truly turning off is what you need, then that is what you do. So give yourself some grace from your productive life. Give yourself some grace from not being perfect all the time. It is okay.
I love it. That's great. That's a very good thing that is so hard to do.
It is very hard to do.
It's very hard to do. It's like, okay, when do I just really wear it down, right?
Yeah.
So that has been amazing information, Michelle. I can keep you for another hour, but I gotta be respectful of your time. But that was really great. Thank you so much for really being part of the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And you have a great evening, and I hope that you stay warm in Toronto.
Me too.
Okay, you take care. Bye.
Thank you.